Fox News.
Get more on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your trusted dealer serving Southwest Virginia and surrounding areas for over 50 years. With more selection, more value, and more finance options. Plus, your trade is worth more. Shop local and save more with straightforward pricing, plus exceptional service and selection. Your search ends at the Motor Mile. Choose from over 900 quality pre-owned vehicles, plus a massive selection of new car brands in Southwest Virginia. Honda, Hyundai, Toyota, Subaru, Kia, Chevrolet, Mitsubishi, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and now Buick. Plus, the used car superstore. 12 new car brands, 900 used vehicles. One amazing buying experience. Volume selling means volume pricing, and we've got more than any other dealer in the area. The Sheeler Motor Mile delivers choices. Here's the difference. Sheeler owns the finance company and makes getting approved for credit simple and easy on the Motor Mile. Flexible financing options for every budget to get you on the road fast. Get more on the Sheeler Motor Mile with a certified friendly staff and no games, no gimmicks. The Sheeler Motor Mile, now in Christiansburg, Radford, and Pulaski. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
The clock is ticking. Time is running out for Virginia citizens to purchase modern sporting rifles and magazines from Big Boys Guns. Beat the July 1st deadline. Right now, the selection is robust at Big Boys Guns. ARs, AKs, and the most popular handguns will soon be banned from sale in the state of Virginia. Don't wait. Visit Big Boys Guns before the inventory is gone and not allowed to return. Shop 24/7 at BigBoysGuns.com and in store on Route 460 in Blue Ridge.
Hey, small to medium business owners, if you're frustrated with slow IT support, high costs, or paying for services you just don't use, it's time for a change. Hi, I'm Colt with We Fix Stupid Computers. We provide reliable on-site and remote support tailored for businesses just like yours. And we go beyond just fixing problems. We empower your staff with real tech knowledge so they can work smarter every day. From repairs to training to full IT support, we save you time, stress, and money. Call We Fix Stupid Computers, 434-525-8590, where smart support meets real savings.
You're stepping into the fast lane on the VTRN Sports app, 93.3 FM and 1320 AM Lynchburg, or by asking Alexa or Google Home, open VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, take the fast lane through the topics that matter across the Commonwealth. This is the Fast Lane with Ed Lane.
Am I the only one who, when certain things happen, the weather feels like it mirrors the mood of what's transpiring? Augusta National, the Masters. Not often, but the majority of the time, the weather fits that spring vibe. Maybe it's a little hot, but sunny. Not overly humid like you get, well, last week before this weather. But then, this past weekend, it's the first time maybe ever, certainly in a long time, and to get my usher on for a moment in the fast lane, that the NASCAR truck, Busch, O'Reilly, Xfinity, AAA series, and Cup races were all impacted by inclement weather. Front Stretch podcast, the Stock Car Scoop that recaps the race, mentioned it, but, you know, it's been a minute. My wife and I, by the way, had a great trip. Quick detour, by the way.
Time to take a detour in the fast lane.
Thank God my parents were generous enough to watch my 2 7-year-old boys, my wife and I's, so that we could go to Richmond yesterday to see Sting in concert. Great music. You can hear music just like that on Rewind 1039, Lynchburg's classic hits, WLYH. When you think LYH, think Rewind 1039. So we went to see him in concert last night. You knew it was dicey. And about 45 minutes before the concert, the skies opened up. And eventually, they receded, but we were drenched. And if that wasn't enough, or as God rest his soul, Billy Mays would say, that's not all, the ride back. Woo! We took the 360, 460 route out of Richmond, and I don't even know where to begin. It was raining so hard. Thank God there really was not a lot of traffic the majority of the way home. I have unlocked something. It might get me in trouble, but if you are ever in a situation where an auto accident arises, 777-HURT. and trostlaw.com because they've been serving our community and the Commonwealth of Virginia for
not one, not two, not three, not four,
but over 4 decades, since 1982. It was raining so bad. I learned a new, let me rephrase it. You may have known this, but it finally dawned on me last night. Nobody's on the road. It's night. You probably got your headlights on if you want a prayer of seeing anything at night in general, but especially in the weather last night. Just drive in the middle of the road, like literally in the middle of the road. If it's a 2-lane road, we're straddling the double yellow. I'm going to be able to see through the headlights if a car is coming. And if it's on 460, 360, and it's 4 lanes, 2 lanes each way, again, ride the dotted line down the middle because the water is going to cascade off to the side, so your car is going to get better traction by riding the middle. Things you learned last night. By the way, my wife and I had a wonderful time. To Sting's credit, 2 hours of a concert. That's fantastic. Loved every minute of it. My wife and I resolved after Prince, we were going to go see him, and then he decided to, consume substances he shouldn't, and he'd play stupid games, you get stupid prizes, and he overdosed, and now is no longer with us. So we've decided, you never get a chance, let's go and, enjoy it while you can. So we drove back, and if I sound muddle-headed, that's the reality of this. Cycling all this back around to say, I can't remember, by the way, first of all,
after Ed's potentially unnecessary detour, let's get back on the road in the fast lane.
I would like to ask forgiveness of our friends at Front Stretch for forgetting what the stat was they mentioned. But the weather just felt like the appropriate weather for a weekend where if you are a NASCAR fan to any level, or even a sports fan, it just felt cloudy. It felt droopy. Because that's kind of the vibe in light of Kyle Busch's tragic passing away at 5:40 p.m. when it was announced. I don't know when he actually passed away, but at 5:40 p.m. last Thursday when it was announced. And that's kind of the reality of it. The Coke 600, once the racing went going, you could still focus on it being racing, but justifiably, everything leading up to it was necessarily about Memorial Day and then about Kyle Busch. And it's okay to not be okay. If you're in a spot where you're grieving, Central Virginia Counseling, Wigington Road, and Timberlake Road in Lynchburg, they can help. Not Richmond. In Lynchburg, they can help. I go see them. I recommend it as well. It is worth your while if you want to be the best version of yourself. So they can assist with that. But when you're grieving, one of the big things you can do is to just try to keep pressing forward. I'm a belief over time, you never forget healing is a process. It's a journey. It's not linear, but you're taking steps by showing up, being present, trying the best you can, even if everyone knows there's a dark cloud, literally, because it rained all 3 races at Charlotte this weekend, but proverbially speaking as well. And I give a lot of credit to Prime's coverage. That network, the A to Z network, as Trey calls it, has taken over for Fox. They have arguably the most iconic figure in NASCAR in Dale Earnhardt Jr. as one of their announcers. And they had about a 4-minute montage from Dale Earnhardt Jr. about Kyle Busch. We retweeted it, Fast Lane Ed Lane, on Twitter. But essentially, here's Dale Earnhardt Jr. We'll sum it up as best we can. The background music was great. It struck the right chord and note. It wasn't too cheesy and sappy, but it conveyed both the levity of the moment, the fact that people were looking back fondly on Kyle Busch's legacy and career, with the sadness that, 10 days ago, 11 days ago, he's in Victory Lane at Dover for a truck race, and he's celebrating his son's birthday party last Tuesday, and then all of a sudden, Wednesday, he has issues at the GM simulator, difficulty breathing, coughing up blood, and by Thursday, he's gone. There is still a shock that comes with it. It's more shocking to me, in a sense, even than Dale Earnhardt Sr., because auto accidents had happened before, and it happened again. We've seen that before. Even Dan Weldon in IndyCar. It's different. This is just an individual with regular life. Life happens, as they say. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. grasped it as well as Richard Childress. Obviously, his dad, Dale Sr., the most high-profile passing, I would say ever, but certainly before Kyle Busch's. And here's what Dale Earnhardt Jr. said during that montage.
I will always remember him as the guy who hated to lose more than anybody. He won more races across the top 3 NASCAR series than any driver in history, with win number 234 coming in the Truck Series just last weekend at Dover.
Why do these moments never get old, Kyle?
Because you never know when the last one is.
The days we had together.
You could hear at the very end Dale Jr. getting choked up. I don't know if I'm the only one who noticed it or not, but him getting choked up on that Amazon Prime montage they did for Kyle Busch. And again, that it's just so eerie because it's true. You never know when your last one is going to be. You know, I've had the fortune of winning races. It's been over a year since it's happened. If it's the last one, it's the last one. I'll keep trying. Sometimes life might give me a better hand than it has to pursue it now, but I'm blessed to be in a spot where I can still run at a pretty solid level and do pretty well and enjoy it. But you never know when the last one's going to be. And Kyle Busch struck that, and there's an emotion that goes into it. And for as much as Kyle Busch played the villain role, look at how many people in NASCAR benefited from him. Kyle Busch Motorsports, certainly in the Truck Series before they shuttered operations a year or two ago, was part of that. He drove for 2 of the 3 biggest organizations, starting off with Hendrick, winning his Cup championships with Joe Gibbs Racing. Richard Childress, not what they used to be in terms of power, but certainly iconic, ironically, because of Dale Earnhardt Sr. And everybody's got that. It has that level of feel to it. And I thought this weekend the drivers really did a great job striking the right chord and tone. They let Kurt Busch and then Samantha, Lennox, and Brexton be the focal point during pre-race coverage. They went out and raced. That's what you do. Again, it's back to the TroStall.com fast take from earlier today, but about the idea of, if you're in a spot where you need to see Central Virginia Counseling, they can help in a much greater way than I can, but a lot of it is you're winning because you're showing up through adversity. You're showing up when you're in a down season of life and you're still giving it a shot. You're not quitting. You're trying. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It doesn't mean it's going to be painless. Obviously, it's not. But you're leaning into that. You're doing the best you can. And listen to Daniel Suarez. Asked about the win, how much it meant to him, and what stood out from his performance. Where, I truthfully, the Toyotas were the best cars. Denny Hamlin in particular, but Briscoe, Gibbs, and Chase Briscoe, Ty Gibbs, and Christopher Bell, and even Tyler Reddick was up there. I mean, they clearly had speed, but Suarez used strategy, and as exciting as it is for him to pick up his 3rd win, somebody who's going to be in a spot where, it got dampened by the emotions. And Daniel Suarez, as he noted in the post-race press conference, as we share that audio from our friends at frontstretch.com, first thing on his mind was Kyle Busch.
The very first thing that came to my mind was Kyle. As we all know, this has been a difficult week and weekend for all of us. Drivers, team owners, media, fans, most important, his family. A few days ago, I was still hoping that somebody was going to say that it wasn't real. So the fact that Kyle helped me so much through the Xfinity Series, and eventually that led me into having a cup opportunity. The relationship that Jeff Dickerson has had with Kyle for many years. Spire Motorsports actually operates in KBM, Kyle Busch Motorsports building, race shop. So, this is not coincidence. The stars align.
I can believe that. I think a lot of drivers would say that, but you hear the emotion from Daniel Suarez. It was moving for pretty much every driver that was out there. And he was asked afterwards as well, there's got to be a level of momentum. He's run really well for Spire this year. That organization, Hocevar got the win at Talladega. Again, it's a tapered spacer track. It's not your traditional go out and dominate a 1.5 mile oval. And Suarez, while he was a good ride, you could argue SVG was a better driver this past Sunday. You could argue Stenhouse was a better driver this past Sunday. Suarez was up there, probably top 10, top 15 caliber car, but they played the strategy game right. Do they get extra momentum from it? I mean, I guess kind of. But Daniel Suarez, again, I think there's a level of tip your cap to the guy. Because there are moments where, yeah, you can play the villain role. But this is so much more than that.
Hopefully, this momentum can carry over for the next several weeks, and we continue to have fun. But again, this weekend is not about us. It's about Kyle and his family, and I'm super proud to be able to get it done for him.
You know, everybody, I'm sure, feels a level of pride because it's showing up. It's giving it a shot. It's doing what you do through patches of adversity. I've been through it. I'm sure, JJ has. He'll have more of it in his life going forward, as will I. Trey's been there before, too. TJ, Ty, everybody's part of our family here at the Fast Lane and the Virginia Talk Radio Network. Part of the victory is showing up, and it may not be pretty. It may not go exactly according to script. But I think one of the more underrated things, especially in life in general, but in society today, is determination, adversity, resilience. It's not pretty, but I think it's so much more relatable to other people. Austin Dillon was asked about it as well. And Kyle Busch's teammate with Richard Childress Racing, obviously Childress' his grandson, grasping the severity. I'm sure, God knows what conversations Dillon and Childress have had about Dale Earnhardt Sr. and maybe recently even obviously about Kyle Busch. But there's an important part of you just get back in the car and do what you do.
It's very important. It's so cool to see the fans standing up like they were. I got a little emotional before we took off, and it's just he touched so many people in such a good way and impacted them as a competitor. And yeah.
That's Austin Dillon to frontstretch.com's Michael Massey post-race. And their colleague, Dalton Hopkins, 5:45 today in part 2 of Covering the Commonwealth. We'll discuss more on this. It was going to be clunky this weekend. It was even more clunky because of the weather, but it kind of cast an appropriate cloud over the way plenty of people in the motorsports world feel and felt just trying to show up to the track. And you were met with, this delay, that delay. But you're going to stick with it and keep going. And that is so much about what it is. People glorify dominance, and there are times where everything aligns right and you can dominate. But there are also times where you have to just grit your teeth and find a way to get there. We're going through this with my son. One of my sons, he wants to do a sport or activity. He's like his mom. Wants to do a sport or activity or puts his mind to it, sets his mind to it, and then commits and succeeds. The other son is like me. You encounter thousands of obstacles, delays, the bad luck, the stupid bad luck that gets in the way. And you know what your greatest gift is? It's that you just keep fighting through all that. And that's where you can beat everybody else. That's where you can win, is you have a level of determination. And NASCAR as a series and motorsports, if you want to extend that to the others, because IndyCar, Kyle Busch never raced in IndyCar. Obviously, we'll never know. But they did a good job paying tribute at the Indy 500 this weekend to Kyle Busch, even though he really doesn't have ties to that series. He has ties to motorsports, and you tip your cap to get my usher on for just a moment. I wasn't keeping up with the Canadian Grand Prix to know how they might have paid tribute. But this is really, again, it's a testament to showing up, and some of it is determination, and everybody in NASCAR was determined, and a hat tip is very much deserved. Meanwhile, there are other things that have transpired in the world of sports over the weekend in the last couple of days. We get to those right now in...
It's time for Fast Five at 5-ish. 5-ish minutes on 5 relevant topics done around 5 p.m.-ish. Ish, because our counting skills are kinda ish. Let's start with number 5.
Roland Garros! 2 days in the books. All of the first round matches are done. Highlights from today. The men's number 1 seed, Jannik Sinner, 2 hours, 1 in straight sets. What else is new? Water is also wet. Arena Sabalenka, kind of a workmanlike, I know she's the one that ride with the analogy, workmanlike straight sets victory earlier today. I'll hold reservations on Naomi Osaka, who won in straight sets. Felix Auger-Aliassime, 5 sets, 1 in a tiebreak in the 5th set, 10-7. He's part of that Daniil Medvedev, and Medvedev lost today, by the way. But that group, Tsitsipas won, but I kind of lump them all together the forgotten generation where they were never good enough to overcome Djokovic, who hung out long enough, and then Nadal and Federer, who retired previously already. And now none of them is close, in my eyes, to Jannik Sinner. We've got others that are coming in, including former Virginia Cavalier Rafael Hodar, who the bracket in the bottom half may be setting up really well for him to make a deep run. But those are all things that transpired today. Coco Gauff took a moment to get going, but when she finds her serve, she's really lethal. She kind of picked it up, won in straight sets that way. But that is kind of your overview of what has transpired today. The rest of it, there are performers and players that will gain more attention from us as the week unfolds. Meanwhile,
Number 4.
Brendan Sorsby, breaking news. His appeal to the NCAA has been
rejected.
He will not be reinstated immediately for eligibility. This, according to On3, among others. Look, I get why Jeffrey Kessler has taken on this case. I tend to be on the cynical side where a prominent sports attorney, Jeffrey Kessler, who was also the one who represented Michael Jordan, Denny Hamlin in 23XI racing, as well as Spire Motorsports, but the other one that was involved in the lawsuit. Front Row Motorsports. Thank you, Trey, for yelling in the other room, our frontstretch.com expert. Kessler has been part of big suits like that, and he's part of this one. Generally, I think if he's taking it, it's more for something groundbreaking to boost his resume, and he's very good at arguing on behalf of labor against organizations. I think he took on Brendan Sorsby and has taken it on more to say, how are you going to reject this if you're not going to make them employees? Which, I mean, I'd rather get there sooner than later. I understand it opens up a can of worms for schools, but I mean, aren't they already employees where it's just payroll offset to some third-party resource, which is even more ridiculous? Meanwhile,
Number 3.
ACC and Conference USA, teams that made the NCAA tournament. 9 ACC teams have made the NCAA tournament. Virginia Tech, UCLA Regional. Whew, that's a tough one. UCLA, a top 5 team throughout the country. And it's a 7:30 airtime this coming Friday. Game 1, they'll take on Cal Poly. UCLA against, I think it's Santa Barbara, I believe, that they'll be playing. UCLA will in the other matchup. But Virginia Tech's out there this coming weekend. Evan Hughes predicted it Friday when he joined us in the fast lane. The Virginia Tech was probably going to be a 2-3 seed. You kind of were wondering where that would be. That's a long haul out west for them. Meanwhile, we'll get an update on that in a moment. Virginia against Jacksonville State. They are in the Southern Miss Hattiesburg Regional. From my distant view, if Virginia plays to their capabilities, maybe they could upset. So could Jack State, who is one of 3 teams from Conference USA to make it in. Liberty, a last 4 team into the tournament. They are a 3 seed and will take on Boston College at 2 p.m. this coming Friday in the Athens, Georgia Regional, which should be a fun one. By the way, you got an update on this, JJ?
Yeah, UCLA is actually playing St. Mary's at 3 p.m. on Friday, May 20th.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Thank you for that little nugget. 3 p.m., St. Mary's. I mean, really, we couldn't have Virginia Tech at 3 p.m.? That would have been nice to give us something to bring you in prime time. But alas, we'll have it anyway. Evan Hughes will have it. Friday night prime time matchup. Only problem is we probably are going to be going head-to-head with basketball action. Actually, we're not, because the Eastern Conference Finals, they are no mas. Meanwhile, we mentioned Liberty. Last 4 teams in, Athens Regional. Georgia's been strong in the SEC. I would expect they're a heavy favorite to get out of it. BC has been a sleeper. They gave Virginia Tech fits. They took the series against the Hokies earlier this year, and Virginia as well. We'll be curious to see on that. Meanwhile, speaking of Virginia,
Number 2.
UVA promoting Kevin Cassis as their new head men's lacrosse coach. Is this it's the cheapest option move? Curious what Jerry Ratcliffe will think when he joins us around 5:35 today here in the Fast Lane. But for the departure of Lars Tiffany and his 2 national championships, you add on to it the fact that when Virginia has made other coaching changes, Brian O'Connor is more accomplished than what they replaced him with in baseball with, what's his name? Powell coming up from Duke. But Chris Powell coming up from Duke. But I mean, it was still a solid hire, one where you go, all right, I get it. And then Aaron Roussel replacing Coach Mox in basketball. I know she just took him to the Sweet 16, but that's it. Kevin Cassis is the one where I knew he was credited with a lot as an assistant coach, but that to me screams you're just promoting him from within. Is this really just a cheap move? I'd be a little more leery about this one if I'm a Virginia fan.
Number 1.
Liberty telling you they are not tipping their hand in who will be in the quarterback lead heading into fall camp, as Jamie Chadwell and tight end Caleb Ryan and linebacker Jarrell Farrar will represent the Flames at Conference USA football kickoff in Texas, July 20th and 21st. Liberty in the league announcing that today. Tight end Caleb Ryan, not a main name player. I think a lot of this for Liberty is obviously a lot of your other star players like Dante Lee, Texas Tech, and Evan Dickens to Boston College, the wide receiver and running back respectively, are gone. But for quarterback, while a lot of people believe Deshaun Purdy's in the lead, you can keep that competition going a little bit further. Whereas if he went to Conference USA Media Days, you kind of would have an idea that he's probably in the lead to take that spot. Meanwhile, defensively, you can rotate players, but everyone is pointed to Jarrell Farrar as being one of the guys that is expected to take on a bigger load for Liberty, coming back as a key contributor. It was borne out in that decision. Meanwhile, when we return to the fast lane, a little bit interesting angle to covering the Commonwealth. The Hill City Howlers to start because they have a game tonight, second of their 2 homestands. And after that, a little University of Lynchburg baseball. Then Jerry Ratcliffe in part 1 of covering the Commonwealth next in the fast lane.
Don't miss the Declaration of Deals sales event at Magic City Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Buy now with big incentives or low financing, or we'll pay your state sales tax. Your choice. Get over $6,000 off MSRP on a new Jeep Grand Cherokee, or save over $6,700 off MSRP on a new Ram 1500 Warlock. Plus, no payments for 90 days at Magic City Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, 1750 Independence Boulevard in Bedford. MagicCityBedford.com. Stock numbers BT1289 and BT12759. With approved credit, see dealer for details. Ends 5/31/26.
Summer, hot, steamy. 3 ingredients for an overheated truck. Overheated trucks is an all too often summer problem for diesel trucks. Don't let it happen to you. Go Wicked. Get your diesel truck service for less at Wicked Diesel in Bedford. Wicked Diesel is offering 20% off AC and cooling system repairs, plus oil change and tire rotation for 20% off. Go to wickeddieselva.com and print out the coupon. Go Wicked. Wicked Diesel, Bedford, Virginia.
Lunchtime just got an upgrade. Stop by Macadoo's for our $8.95 weekday special and grab a legendary sandwich at an unbeatable price. Choose from your favorite classics, the Coney Island, Betty Bob, Ragtime, or Stogie. Classic sandwiches packed with savory meats and flavors in between fresh bread. Make it a meal by pairing your sandwich with a sidekick, a warm cup of soup, or crispy chips. Great food, cozy vibes, and the best deal in town.
Time to share it and fun. Just to be there the only one. Just to be there at Macadoo's.
We'll see you at the Do's.
Spring is a season of fresh starts, and it's the perfect time to refresh your finances too. Whether you're opening a new checking account, planning a home project, or exploring lending options, Farmers Bank offers personalized service and local expertise you can count on. We're here to help you grow, save, and plan for what's next, this season and beyond. Stop by your nearest branch or visit us online to learn more. Farmers Bank, your community, your bank, your future.
Hi, this is Bill Roth, voice of Virginia Tech football. It's time to start jumping. This is your home for the Hokies, VTRN Sports 93.3 FM and the VTRN Sports app.
Hi, this is Zach Mackey, the voice of Virginia Tech men's basketball. You're listening to The Fast Lane with Ed Lane and Trey Lyle. Join the chat at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.
I stopped being lazy. What do we mean? Find out right now in
It's time for your teams and topics. Covering the Commonwealth. A look at teams and topics from around the Commonwealth. Let's start with the Hill City Howlers.
Yes, the voice guy. We've got it. I finally got off my butt and actually just downloaded the sound effect. That's irrelevant, though. What's more relevant is Jason Prill, the play-by-play broadcaster for the
Hill City Howlers,
who is with us in the fast lane. Jason, great to be speaking with you. Have you been able to dry off after a weekend where it kind of felt choppy all across the sports landscape, particularly in the region, including Thursday's game being postponed, a doubleheader on Friday, and a lot of rain over at City Stadium?
Yeah, I'm trying to dry off, but with games again this week, it's been pretty difficult. We had rain earlier today, but, the tarp is off right now. Field is getting ready, and you know what? There's no better place to be, even on a humid day like today, than the ballpark. So I'm as dry as you're going to get for this part of the year, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Jason Prill with us here in the fast lane. Jason, did the Hill City Howlers exhaust, virtual swear jar gets $1 for that one. Did the Hill City Owlers exhaust all of their offense in that 16-2 outburst against Salem last Tuesday? Because since then, it seems like they've really had to scrap and claw to get runs across the plate.
Yeah, that 16-2 game, it really seemed to have a bit of a mental effect on the Howlers. But, this is a team and an organization that no matter what is going on, they're going to keep their heads high. They're going to keep grinding. They're going to stick to what they've been practicing, what they've been working on, what's being taught in the coaches' meetings. So even if they are struggling to get hits, they're still finding ways to get aboard. They're drawing walks. They're working counts. And that's what you're looking for at this level. Even if things aren't going well, even if things aren't falling your way or hits aren't dropping, you're sticking to what you can do at the plate. You're taking pitches, you're working the count in your favor. And even though the hits aren't falling right now and the runs aren't piling up, the process is still working and the guys are still finding success in other ways. And so I don't think they have anything to be ashamed of, but obviously every guy who's ever picked up a baseball bat and every girl who's ever picked up a baseball bat knows you want to get hit. So those will start falling eventually, but right now it's all about sticking with the process and putting up good ABs.
Do you take more solace in the fact that they won 2 of their last 3, including that 5-run 8th inning Saturday against Salem?
Yeah, I think that 5-run 8th inning was a big momentum swing for the team. Yes, Sunday was a bit of a letdown, but they showed that they can fight. They showed that resilience that has been a part of this organization for the last several years, and that's something to hang your hat on and something to build off of as we continue on in this series and continue on throughout this series or the season.
Jason Pearl, broadcaster, Hill City Howlers, with us here in the Fast Lane. Jason, good to be speaking with you. Fayetteville, tonight, weather permitting, kicks off the next homestand for the Hill City Howlers. Which one are you most excited about? Beach towel giveaway Friday, Body Slam Cancer Night Saturday. That's the one that gets my attention. Or Dinos at the Park, which might be the one that my kids are most excited about on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. Body Slam Cancer is going to be a fun night. We're raising money for cancer research and helping to fight some of the worst things that have happened in world history. So anytime we can tackle cancer and go after it and raise money to fight against it, it's going to be a fun night. We got the T-shirt to go along with it, so that's going to be a fun night. But on a more cheerful, fun, lighthearted, the dinosaur night is going to be great. I can't wait to see the dinos at the ballpark. It's going to be a fun time for kids. So it's going to be a great series. And the weather, we're hoping it's going to hold off tonight. The tarp is off, so we've got nothing going on. Get your tickets, come out to the ballpark, enjoy an evening, but keep coming back. This whole week's going to be a blast.
Jason Prill, keep coming back to the Fast Lane. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Anytime, Ed.
Now to
the University of Lynchburg.
With Ed Smith, Associate Athletic Director for Sports Performance, who is once again with us here in the Fast Lane. Ed, our pleasure to be speaking with you. We really do appreciate your making time for us. So close to getting back to the College World Series, but ultimately it was the latter innings against East Texas Baptist this coming Sunday, which undid the University of Lynchburg in their quest to get into the College World Series. That's the 8th inning is one where they're going to feel like they really missed that opportunity. As Ed Smith is with us here in the Fast Lane. Ed, great to be speaking with you. How much is the 8th inning in particular going to be one where they go, oh, that one stinks?
Well, I mean, yeah, definitely. That's one that hurts a little bit, but also it's a group of guys that honestly, that's how the game goes. Whenever you're playing great teams, it just takes one, then hopefully you can bounce back from the one. But then when another home run follows the first one, it really hurts. It definitely stings for this group. Definitely want to be headed to East Lake, Ohio this week, but sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles.
You mentioned in baseball in particular, it's one of those sports where it feels like you give up a run, you can overcome that really well. There's a snowball effect to that. Is that what you were sensing where, look, some of it's tip your cap to East Texas Baptist because they were able to get the timely hits when it mattered. And as it was noted afterward by Travis Beasley, look, it's a good game amongst two good teams that were pretty even. And, one team got the hits at the right time.
Yeah, that's the nature of the game, right? Get the hits at the right time, take advantage of opportunities when the opportunities present themselves. And, good things can happen for great teams. Their coach said in his interview, just keep hanging in there. The bats were hitting, and then finally the ball started falling in their favor there, and it was really tough that late in the game to kind of battle back. That doesn't mean that our guys didn't give it all they had. That's just, like I said a moment ago, it's just sometimes how it works out.
Ed Smith, Associate Athletic Director for Sports Performance for the University of Lynchburg, is with us here in the Fast Lane. Ed, you look at the overall reality, and I mean, the Hornets are in so many of these super regionals, and they're in a lot of close games. How much of the mindset for Lucas Jones previously, but the Travis Beasley's done a fantastic job of continuing, is if you're in this spot enough, eventually you're going to find a way to break through and get back to the College World Series?
Well, it's not just the coaching staff; it's the athletes that they recruit to come here, and that senior group that we had and are leaving us. They were in these close games and they won a national title, so they knew all that it took to get there and all that was needed. But again, it's the players that buy into what the coaches are selling, and then you got to find the pieces that fit the mold, and then the coaches got to do their magic on who's going to be on the mound, who's behind the plate, who's in the lineup. If you look at the lineup multiple different times, we had a different person in the DH role, and many a times that played out really well for us all season long. It was just this time the East Texas Baptist took advantage of us, and that's, again, how it works, unfortunately.
We could get into what you and the staff look for in players and how you go about finding ones who have that level of mental resilience. Ed, that will be a topic for a later chat when we can connect with you over a longer period of time. Sorry we don't have a chance to discuss the College World Series, but we are grateful for your time here in the Fast Lane and going once again into University of Lynchburg baseball. They're one of the gifts that keeps on giving whenever they make these deep postseason runs, which are becoming a more normal thing now with 4 straight super regionals.
Absolutely. We hope to continue to make them happen.
Ed Smith with us here in the Fast Lane.
Now to UVA.
With JerryRatcliffe.com founder and contributor, Jerry Hootie Ratcliffe. Hootie, great to be speaking with you. First of all, we'll get to Virginia baseball. There's a lot of lacrosse talk, and once we dive in, from your intrepid reporting to the news of Kevin Cassis being the new head coach today, we'll get to that in a moment. But UVA baseball, they're in the Southern Miss Hattiesburg Regional. Jacksonville State, one of 3 Conference USA teams, Liberty's part of that made the NCAA tournament. That's this coming Friday, 7 p.m. for Virginia against Jax State. What's your overall assessment of Coach O'Connor and the draw, where the season didn't seem like it ended the right way, but it seems like they did not get the worst possible draw either?
I would agree with that, Ed. I think it's a manageable regional. Certainly, if Virginia plays its best baseball, it can at least compete for the championship of that regional, I would think. But it's going to depend on whether their bats can stay hot like they kind of got in the ACC tournament, and how long they can keep their pitchers out there, their starting pitchers out on the mound, and try to get some length from those guys so they don't have to go too deep into their bullpen.
You mentioned that part and the length and the skill set. For Virginia, you brought that up. Is the bullpen the biggest concern for Virginia, being able to get out of Hattiesburg and back to a super regional?
Yeah, I think it is. I think that and the fact that they need some of these starters they need to keep them out there for some effective innings. Some of the problems this year is that some of those guys have got knocked out too early, and you want to keep that starter out there for at least 4 or 5 innings to try to be effective, for one thing, and 2, to save the arms. But the bullpen hasn't exactly torn things up in a good way, and so I think that's going to be one of the keys is getting some quality starts out of that starting staff.
JerryRatcliffe.com founder and contributor, Jerry Hootie Ratcliffe. Hootie, you have a very thorough piece, and it's worth the subscription to JerryRatcliffe.com just to read this in and of itself. Cliff notes in the most essential simplification version of something that is very well researched. Did the role change on Lars Tiffany from what he thought he was getting when he took it over to where it is now, with the amount of fundraising that's asked out of someone in that role? And that ultimately was where he and Carla Williams just ended up fraying on their sides.
Yeah, I think their relationship had been somewhat tenuous over the past year anyhow. And certainly this season, with its ups and downs, didn't help any. And the fact that, I think he wanted more for the lacrosse program than she was able to commit to in terms of, facility improvement, et cetera. I learned this afternoon that what he signed apparently and sent back in was not really a contract, but more of a letter of intent or something to that description, sort of outlining what a contract would look like. And I don't know that we'll ever know what happened behind closed doors when the two finally met. But obviously it didn't go well because it appears that he was fired rather than walked away, even though he didn't have a contract at that point, and that things were strained because the only other release we've seen out of UVA in over 40 years, there were 40 words or less, was his and that of Coach Mox, who was summarily dismissed earlier this year. So I think he's seeking 3 years worth of compensation after agreeing to the terms that were laid out, but that wasn't necessarily an official contract from what we've learned.
JerryRatcliffe.com founder and contributor Jerry Hootie Ratcliffe. There is thorough reporting at JerryRatcliffe.com on the transition of Lars Tiffany out as Virginia men's lacrosse coach. He's replaced by assistant Kevin Cassis. Am I off base in the sentiment being maybe what a lot of Virginia fans are thinking, which is all that for just a promotion of an assistant coach?
Well, again, we don't know exactly how things went down. We know that they interviewed two other coaches, one of them being the Richmond coach, and we don't know if anything was offered or how interested he was in the job. A lot of people felt like that he might be better off where he was, and the fact that he doesn't have to worry about facilities or funding his own program or anything like that. We don't know if Cassis was the early leader because he already had his foot in the door or not. But I think what probably helped was continuity. The fact that he's been an effective offensive coach for the past 3 seasons. And that from what I gather, it sounds like that he will be able to retain the rest of, the team that should be returning, which is a team that should be able to compete pretty well next year and to keep what looks like a really solid recruiting class coming in. So I think he had those things going for him, and certainly that's not a bad thing.
Jerry Ratcliffe with us here in the Fast Lane from JerryRatcliffe.com. Hootie, great to chat with you. Thank you for your context and especially for all the great reporting you've done on the transition out of Lars Tiffany now with Kevin Cassis taking his place as the Virginia men's lacrosse coach. We appreciate it, and we will chat again soon.
Thanks, Ed. See you next week.
Indeed. Jerry Ratcliffe with us here in the Fast Lane. When we return, Virginia Tech baseball, Dylan Teft of TechSideline.com. And before that, NASCAR at Charlotte and the somber mood around it. Dalton Hopkins was there for FrontStretch.com and a great tweet. We'll discuss that with him next here in the Fast Lane.
Here we grow again at the Sheeler Motor Mile. It's here, the all-new Motor Mile Chevrolet and Buick in Radford. More brands, more selection, and the same exceptional service you expect from a trusted community partner. Whether you're shopping Chevrolet or Buick, you'll find quality, value, and a team that puts you first. From rugged trucks and SUVs to stylish cars and family-friendly vehicles, the Motor Mile has something for everyone. With straightforward pricing and top dollar for your trade, there's no better place to buy. Bring us your trade, new or older, paid off or not, and see why your car is worth more on the Motor Mile. Plus, with more inventory arriving daily, now is the time to shop the Motor Mile. Sheeler owns the finance company and makes getting approved for credit simple and easy on the Motor Mile. Flexible financing options for every budget to get you on the road fast. Experience the Motor Mile at 3 convenient locations: Christiansburg, Radford, and Pulaski. For over 50 years, we've got Southwest Virginia covered. The all-new Motor Mile Chevrolet and Buick in Radford. Certified friendly staff. No games, no gimmicks. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at MotorMileChevroletBuick.com.
The clock is ticking. Time is running out for Virginia citizens to purchase modern sporting rifles and magazines from Big Boys Guns. Beat the July 1st deadline. Right now, the selection is robust at Big Boys Guns. ARs, AKs, and the most popular handguns will soon be banned from sale in the state of Virginia. Don't wait. Visit Big Boys Guns before the inventory is gone and not allowed to return. Shop 24/7 at BigBoysGuns.com and in store on Route 460 in Blue Ridge.
Midday hunger hitting you hard? Swing by Macadoo's for our $8.95 weekday lunch specials. Whether you're craving a classic crunch or something fresh, we've got you covered. Chicken tender basket featuring crispy golden tenders served with fries. The Macadoo's Chef Salad, a healthy, loaded favorite that will hit the spot. Hit back against your lunchtime hunger at Macadoo's with eats that won't break the bank.
Time to share great food and fun. Just to be there, the only one. Just to be there at Macadoo's.
We'll see you at the Do's.
What if counseling services were just a click away? With secure, confidential telehealth sessions through Central Virginia Counseling, you can connect from wherever you feel most comfortable, anywhere in Virginia. No commute, no waiting rooms, just personalized care designed to meet you where you are. Support is closer than you think. Start your journey today on your terms. Visit centralvirginiacounseling.com to get started.
Hi, I'm Al Billingsley, a board member with CASA of Central Virginia. Children who've experienced abuse or neglect often enter foster care feeling scared, confused, and alone. That's where CASA volunteers step in. We stand behind these children to make sure that their voices are heard in court. CASA is looking for caring adults from our community to serve as volunteer advocates. And as a man, I can tell you we're especially in need more men to step up for these kids. If you're ready to make a difference, learn more at cvcasa.org.
When you walk into Haley's, you see the size and selection of a big box store. Over 19,000 square feet of appliances and mattresses. Leading appliances like KitchenAid, Whirlpool, Maytag, Genair, Speed Queen, GE, and Monogram. And mattresses like Sealy, Serta, and Tempur-Pedic. So what's the difference? A family, locally owned business. And a staff committed to servicing you over the entire life of the product. That means before, during, and well after your purchase. Visit Haley's today, just off Ward Road in Lynchburg. Haley's, quality that counts.
When your mower is down, your crew is down, and downtime costs money. That's why Miller Built Outdoor Equipment has a sharp focus on commercial turf professionals, Toro commercial mowers, professional handheld equipment, and a service department that understands urgency. If turf is your business, let's build your fleet the right way. Miller Built Outdoor Equipment, built around your turf.
Don't risk losing the trusted news, traffic, sports, and weather you get from AM radio stations. It's time to make your voice heard. We need Congress to pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act to keep AM radio in cars. When internet and cell services are out, AM could be your only lifeline. Text AM to 39179 and tell Congress to pass this critical legislation now.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Hi, this is Bill Roth, voice of Virginia Tech football. You're listening to The Fast Lane with Ed Lane and Trey Lyle. Join the chat at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.
So not every season of life is a weighty season, but those do pop up for all of us in life. If, again, we have to reiterate this, and we're pleased to reiterate this. If you're in one of those or want to be better equipped to navigate the next one that's on the horizon, Central Virginia Counseling, Wigington Road in Lynchburg, or Timberlake Road in Lynchburg, to stop by one of their offices and meet with a counselor that can help be your coach and walk with you through those challenging moments. Now, we get to discuss that in part 2 of
It's time for your teams and topics, covering the Commonwealth, a look at teams and topics from around the Commonwealth. Let's start with NASCAR.
Dalton Hopkins of FrontStretch.com put this out on his Twitter account at PitLaneCPT. Quote, "This was a long weekend in more ways than one. For lack of better words, it sucked. But so happy I was able to be here with a genuine family of people. That's what NASCAR is. One big circus family. And we shared hugs, laughs, and tears as a family would." Now, the man who put that tweet out has done great work, video and written and audio for FrontStretch.com. Is Dalton Hopkins, who is with us once again in the Fast Lane. Dalton, normally when we speak, the mood is jovial, joyous, and fun. We are always delighted to catch up with you. Just unfortunate that right now it has to be under a cloud, not just the weather that was at Charlotte this past weekend, but maybe appropriately at Charlotte, given that the rain over the weekend and NASCAR's parade was one more reminder of how difficult a stretch this has been since Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, thanks. First off, thanks for having me on, Ed. It's been it was a long 4 days. Michael Massey and I, we both were there, and really everybody in the media center all just collectively believe, like, we just want to get through this weekend. We just want to get this weekend over with, and the weather delays certainly did not help with that. I mean, the morale really has not been lower. I don't think I've been to a racetrack where the morale has been so low, and the loss of Kyle Busch gave that, really gave that a big head start. And then with what happened on Friday, the rain coming in on Friday and Saturday and having almost zero track time until NASCAR hurried up the O'Reilly Series race and just pretty much wrapped it up as soon as Stage 2 was over when the race was official. Everyone knew that NASCAR officials, media, really everybody at that racetrack, maybe even the fans, I'm not sure, but I think everyone just wanted to get through this weekend. We just wanted to get it over with, and because it was just gray skies, gray emotions. It was tough. It really was a difficult weekend, probably the most difficult I've ever covered.
Is the victory of the weekend not anybody who made it to victory lane, but the fact that the NASCAR community showed up, showed what a community they are, and it's not going to change and get better overnight, but that there is a level of camaraderie to get through this together?
Yeah, you're so right. It's an excellent point. I think going into that weekend, everyone just, like I said, everyone wanted to get through it, but I think there was a specific moment, and that was most certainly that the pre-race tribute that Steve O'Donnell did with widow Samantha Busch, and Kyle Busch's son Brexton, and Richard Childress on the infield ball field. It was really touching. Seeing everyone come together like that, the tears, the hugs, like I said in that tweet, or X post, it was real. I mean, I genuinely believe that. I'm not a very sappy guy, Ed. I swear to you, I'm really not. I try to bottle most of those tearful emotions, and I don't really display them unless it's next to somebody I really, really care for. And I couldn't help myself on Sunday that afternoon. That was really tough, but I was able to do that because everyone else was feeling the same way. And that was the beautiful part of it. And seeing all the drivers come together, all the drivers share stories through tears, through laughs. That was beautiful. And I don't think we've seen a sport come together as a whole like that, unfortunately, probably since the death of Dale Earnhardt. I think it's the only other time I can think that it's come together as well as it had this weekend.
Dalton Hopkins of FrontStretch.com is at Pit Lane CPT, and he's with us here in the Fast Lane. We are at Fast Lane, Ed Lane, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and however you listen to podcasts. Dalton, to the race itself, Daniel Suarez goes to victory lane. How appropriate was it, again? A guy that has ties to Kyle Busch, ties to Richard Childress Racing and Kyle Busch Motorsports, particularly with multiple stops for Daniel Suarez, gets to victory lane, maybe through fate, as he mentioned it, but maybe just in a way that, is an appropriate, I wouldn't call it perfect, I don't think there's a perfect cap, but an appropriate cap to a very challenging time.
Yeah, I mean, you're right again. look, Daniel Suarez, I think a lot of people some folks kind of agreed, like he had maybe the most touching story about Kyle, in which Kyle, if for those listeners who haven't heard, Kyle basically gave Daniel Suarez a lot of tips when Suarez moved from Mexico to the United States, and he didn't speak English all that well. And so Kyle, when he was racing in the Truck Series and moving his way up through NASCAR in the O'Reilly Series, Kyle was the one who was giving him tips every single week and touching base and giving him tips on any tracks that he hadn't been to before. And that's who Kyle was. And you heard a lot of stories like that. But, Daniel Suarez is very touching, but at the same time, Ed, and I heard that a lot too, but at the same time, Ed, everybody in that field had some kind of connection to Kyle Busch, regardless of who it was. And honestly, I kind of joked with Michael Massey about half the field at one point or another raced for Kyle Busch Motorsports, because that Kyle he had amazing prospects. He knew how to spot talent, and if it weren't for him, we wouldn't have as much talent as we do in the field right now. So that's just the kind of guy that he was. And to see Daniel share that was really incredible. But honestly, Ed, I think you would have had the same reaction regardless of who won.
There are times where we rejoice and say we made it. This time we exhale for having made it through Charlotte. Someone who was there with Michael Massey chronicling it is Dalton Hopkins of FrontStretch.com, who is with us in the Fast Lane. Dalton, we do appreciate your time. Thank you for revisiting a very deep and dark time for NASCAR, but one where the sport and its body and its participants showed an admirable level of resiliency.
Always a pleasure, Ed. Thanks for letting me come on and talk about it.
Our pleasure. Dalton Hopkins with us here in the Fast Lane.
And last but not least, or maybe least, the Virginia Tech Hokies.
Dylan Teft of FrontStretch.com is their baseball reporter and joins us here in the Fast Lane. Dylan, great to be speaking with you. Virginia Tech, they get into the NCAA baseball tournament, but it's a challenge. They've got to go out to the UCLA Regional and take on Cal Poly with a 7:30 airtime this coming Friday night on the VTRN Sports app. Brutal draw for Virginia Tech. Is that a reasonable description?
Yeah, hey, I appreciate you having me on. And, I think it's sort of a multifaceted thing. So they ended up being a 2 seed, which is, good for them. They'll probably have a relatively easy draw in Cal Poly compared to other, if they were to be a 3 seed. But yeah, like you said, the travel is brutal. And that was probably sort of an effect of them being lower on the spectrum of 2 seeds. But I think that happened. Seemed like the committee really liked certain aspects of their resume, especially their strength of schedule, which was 14th in the nation. And, so yeah, like I said, it's good for the program, I think, to be a 2 seed. That means the committee basically said, you're a top 32 team in the nation, at least a top 32 resume. But, since they're probably on the lower spectrum of 2 seeds in terms of resume, you get sent out to UCLA with such a good team, obviously, in your regional.
TechSideline.com's Dylan Teft is with us here in the Fast Lane. Dylan, is the most intriguing part of this how Virginia Tech deploys Brett Renfro and whether he goes Friday night for that 7:30 airtime on the VTRN Sports app at 93.3 FM Lynchburg against Cal Poly, or if they do more of a committee approach and try to save Renfro for a presumed, if they could get by Cal Poly, first game against UCLA.
Yeah, you really never know how they're gonna do it, especially with Coach Sheff. And he kind of mixes up his approach sometimes. Obviously, in the ACC tournament, he didn't use Renfro at all. Maybe he was injured, but and when it comes to a regional, you'd think probably the most logical thing to do would be to use Logan Eisenrich, who's been their third starter against Cal Poly, maybe Griffin Stig, and then save Renfro, who's pitching like one of the best arms in the nation as of late, against UCLA. Obviously, you feel like he gives the team the best chance, and I mean, really, there's no team in the regional nearly as good as UCLA. That's obviously the best team in the entire country.
Is there enough pitching depth outside of Stig and Renfro that if Virginia Tech gets into, let's just say, a winner-take-all spot with UCLA, that they could be able to pull that together? Or is pitching depth the ultimate thing that I wouldn't say it's totally lacking, but is the biggest question mark for the Hokies?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Although they have kind of a fourth starter brewing in Madden Clement, who missed all of last season almost after getting hurt in his first start, and he's kind of been working his way back through midweek starts, and he's gotten a few ACC innings as of late, which he's done really, really well in. So, I think after him, things might get a little bit dicey if you have to play 4 games in a regional. But, I think the team really feels like it has a fourth starter in Madden Clement. And, there's reason to believe he might even be their third best starter, just because this is a guy who has, so much hype behind him going into the 2025 season. Was expected to be possibly the second starter that year, and just ended up getting hurt the whole year. But I do think this team definitely feels like it has 4 starters as of right now, which is a good sign for how long they can go pitching wise in a regional.
TechSideline.com's Dylan Teft with us here in the Fast Lane. He's at Dylan Teft with 2 T's, 2 F's, TEFFT on Twitter to keep up with his great work, or just check it out at TechSideline.com. Interesting. You have a couple quotes at the very end of your article. I won't fully read all the quotes, but it leads me to this question. Is one of the understated advantages for Virginia Tech that this team seems to be a very relaxed team, and that might play to their advantage against the UCLA team, which they're the number 1 overall seed for a reason, but that also comes with pressure.
Yeah, I mean, totally. And like those quotes are from some post-selection media availability after they were selected to a regional. And, one thing I got from that is everyone sort of believes they can beat everybody. And I think they sort of have good reason to. Tech is still the only team, ACC team, to have beat Georgia Tech in Atlanta, which is costs a lot of people a national championship favorite. He said we're travel tested, which they are. They've already been to California this year. They beat Cal in a series. He said they're battle tested, which they are. They have a lot of singular wins against really, really good teams. Like I said, Georgia Tech, Miami, Boston College, and Virginia. So they are a team that feels like they can sort of catch teams by surprise, and that they've sort of been through gauntlets and they've kind of seen it all. So you kind of understand why they might feel confident thinking that they can really beat anyone.
Dylan Teft, we're confident in his analysis for TechSideline.com. He is generous enough to join us here in the Fast Lane. Dylan, we will wrap it up on this one. What advantage do the Hokies have, considering it felt like they were playing for an NCAA tournament berth really from probably the midpoint of April? Was there a value, or is there a value that they've kind of been in postseason mode for about a month and a half now?
Oh yeah, for sure. And anyone on the team will tell you. I mean, like you said, this is a team that's, you really feel like it's been playing for its life for over a month now. I think ever since series against Pitt, NC State, Cal, all in the last sort of month and a half, where there's been so many weekends where you think, well, if they drop this weekend, they probably don't make the tournament. And every single time they have 4 straight ACC series wins to close the regular season. Every time you kind of feel like they were against the ropes, they pull out a series win. So this team is, they're generally just very hot too. And, one of the hottest teams in the ACC, hotter teams in the country. So you kind of understand why they feel like UCLA is just another game. If it ends up being there, that's actually something Ethan Gibson said, that UCLA is just another game, same as any other game.
Dylan, thank you for your time in the Fast Lane. We appreciate it. Keep up the great coverage of Virginia Tech Hokies baseball at TechSideline.com. And we'll be listening to see how they work this coming Friday, 7:30 p.m. against Cal Poly on the VTRN Sports app.
Thanks for having me, Ed.
Dylan Teft with us here in the Fast Lane. To wrap it up today, that is how we end it on W227 BG Timberlake, WEGM, Amherstburg, WMNA, Gretna, Danville, Southside. We're back tomorrow afternoon, 5 to 6 p.m. Now on to Freddie and Harry in progress for a little bit until this evening, Game 5, Oklahoma City hosting San Antonio.
Baby boy, where you going to college? Clark Atlanta University.
Okay, now my nephew's at Georgia State. He will be a sophomore next year.